How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about The Creeps, number 32 from October 2021. The Creeps, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, is a black and white anthology horror magazine, really a throwback magazine featuring lots of the classic monsters and lots of cool retro-styled horror stories. It's not the only thing that goes on in here. It's an anthology, and you do get a wide variety of the types of stories that they tell, but that's generally what you can expect when you pick this up. Let's first and foremost go ahead and take a look at the cover. I'll bring it in closer for you guys. Another Frazetta cover. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not 100% sure. But you get to see the Ghostly Warrior, see page 13. And you get this warrior swinging his flail there. And this is actually based on a panel from the comics. And I always do have to say, point that out whenever they take art literally from the inside and turn it into the cover. I'm a big fan of that, an accurate representation as to what's going on in the book. Plus, I really do love this deep blood red that they got the logo in this time around. So, really cool for the cover there. Now, there is something I do have to address before we get into the book. It's a big thing for the Creeps magazine that we do have to talk about, and I want everyone to know. This is the last regular issue of the Creeps magazine. I think we still have the Spooktacular, but after that, the magazine is changing its name. It'll still be around, but now it's going to be Shudder magazine. There's a big ad for it at the end there. Attention, this fall, the Creeps is becoming Shudder, and you get to see a picture of what issue 1 will look like, and you get to meet the new host, Old Aunt Shudder. Now, if you guys are wondering why it's changing its name, well, apparently there was a lawsuit. Now, getting this information, I might get some of this a little bit wrong, but from what my understanding is, The Creeps is a throwback horror magazine. It's intentionally supposed to be nostalgic, and you're supposed to be reminded of the past. But one of the magazines that it was referencing was the old Creepy magazine here. I have issue 47 as a visual, but the Creepy magazine, one of the really old September 1972 for this one. So, yeah, a long time ago, this magazine. But the people who made this thought that The Creeps was too close to it. Now, The Creeps is definitely an intentional throwback, and I think there should be some sort of protection when you're trying to do a retro throwback type thing, but apparently they, sued them, and they said you can't be that close to Creepy, so they had to change their name from The Creeps to Shudder, and I'm hoping the people who do Shudder streaming services don't come after them. I don't know. And the thing is, though, this isn't the first time Creepy has had a retro throwback. Take a look at it. Quite famously, Stephen King and George Romero did Creep Show, which is an obvious callback to Creepy magazine, another retro throwback, but this one had a lot of comedy in it, and maybe it was able to use parody laws. I don't know. I don't know much about this stuff. It also had a big studio with tons of money behind it, but you get to see there, Creepy, Creep Show, The Creeps. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there should be more laws protecting stuff that's intentionally nostalgic, but yeah, I don't know. They had to change it, and that just kind of sucks. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. First and foremost, we have the inside of the back cover, the old Creeps, historic horrors, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this, the Akiani Is that right? But it's a giant skeleton that is the spirit of the land of Alaska itself, they believe. And it has these giant bones that it can bash together and make big tidal waves. And there's this thing at the end, according to legend, with polar ice caps melting due to global warming, Akiani could strike out at offending humans at any time. And they, the whole tying it back to modern times. Although, maybe we should just release the giant skeleton. That could be fun, huh? Anyway, flip it over to the contents page. You can see the credits here. Credit where credit is due if you want to pause and read that. And then we also get the stories. The Dear Old Creep, that's the letters page. Parting is Such Sweet Horror, the first story. The Ghostly Warrior, that's the cover story. Vampire Rock and Roll, a New Year's Eve ghost story, that's the classic horror. Abernathy's Tomb, The Creeps Fan Club, which is the reader submitted stuff, and Cutting Corners, which is about a corner, and I love that pun for the title. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look at the stories inside. Now, I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the stories are about. But I'm obviously not going to be covering the twist or anything, so don't worry about that. First, we open up with the Dear Old Creep letters page, and we get to see, a little shot, the baseball guy getting his throat slashed there, and we also get another reminder that the magazine is changing its name there, so gotta remember that. And then we go into our first story. The Parting is Such Sweet Horror, and we get to see this couple, and they're having an affair, and the guy walks in, but his knife breaks because you see this whole situation wasn't real. It's a horror theater stage play, and they just can't quite get the gore as extreme as what you'd see in the movies, and the theater is failing, and they want to perform horror on stage. Also, see you next Wednesday. A fun little John Landis reference there. But anyway, this janitor from India, he is appreciative of his job and decides, hey, you want to save the theater? I know a guy, and he points him in the direction of this guy back in India who worships Shiva and has the ability to make people get dismembered, but then come back unharmed. And in turn, the theater owner wants to learn this power and bring it back to the States. So, a pretty cool, a concept there. The idea of, real gore on stage. A little bit of a throwback to Herschel Gordon Lewis's The Wizard of Gore there. And overall, a really fun and crazy concept. Just all these people falling apart on stage. And of course, it's a horror magazine. It's going to end all terribly there. Moving right along to the cover story, and the first panel of the story, the Ghostly Warrior, that's the panel that they would make into this cover here. And the Ghostly Warrior, you get this guy way back in time who's fighting a bunch of monsters on this mountain, and he doesn't kill them all, and he dies, and then later on, his skull and his flail there are in a collectibles shop, and this nerdy guy from the present is super interested in all things old-timey warrior, sword and sorcery, and decides to pick them up. But of course, when he does this, the spirit of the original warrior comes back, and it's, the whole idea of actually talking to, long dead heroes that you spent your life obsessing over and actually getting to meet them. And there's, of course, a cool twist at the end, obviously. But, yeah, it's really fun concept of actually getting to meet something you're obsessed with, a long dead warrior and someone who is very much in the modern world going, whoa, you're real, I get to see you. So that's always fun. Up next, a really cool action story, vampire rock and roll. Not literally rock and roll, but, like, let's roll out there, And you get this group of soldiers, and vampires are becoming a problem, so they send in a special team to kill them, and the guy gets in with their ammo, and they start to attack the place. But unfortunately for them, their ammo is shotguns that are supposed to have silver in them. But when they start to attack the vampires, they realize their ammunition is worthless. So there's something went wrong in their guns. They can't kill them. So they're all trapped, and a lot of them get picked off really quickly and really brutally. And it's a whole case of, you're trapped. You can't figure out a way. A lot of the stuff you thought you could rely on turns out that's useless. How do you get out? Really good dark hardcore action and stuff, and the artwork is very heavy blacks, just a little bit of light here and there. But granted, this is a vampire nest, it's supposed to be really dark, but overall a really fun action story. Again, you keep a classic monster, but you're shaking it up, making it, versus the military, and, making it a how do we get out of here alive type situation. And, a whole bunch of characters get picked off really quickly, so a good story like that. Up next, we have the classic horror, New Year's Eve ghost story. I wonder when the magazine becomes Shudder if they'll still do classic horror. But this one is from M.R. James from 1931, so about 90 years ago. And you see this guy died kind of all of the sudden, and they're burying him really quick, and he specially requested no casket. And, they thought he was getting better, and he dies quick, and he says, no casket, bury me on the north side. A bunch of really specific burial things he's asking, and they don't really know why or what's up. But the big thing here is his widow and her son needs money to live on, but they can't find where he's hidden the money. And while they're looking through these things, they find a letter to one of his old friends, and it turns out they were into the occult. And there's a special chant, you can say, a special prayer chant that will allow the dead to come back and talk to you and tell you a bunch of secrets, but they may be more than you want to know. A really good classic horror story, and I love the skeleton people, the dead, when they show up. Really, really fun. But yeah, the idea of, we can't find his money, we gotta, get him to come back to life to figure out where he hid it all. And of course, deep, dark revelations and stuff. And also, skeleton people. I gotta love that. Moving right along to what I think is, second to last story. We got two more. This is a really fun one. Abernathy's tomb. So, in Abernathy's tomb, you get this millionaire who, I think 100 years ago, died, and he says he'll give all his money in his will to this cult if they bury him in secret, and then the cult can have his house and live on his land, but they have to do the proper burial ritual, and they have to live there and keep the place up. Now, it's been 100 years, and there's a rumor that his body has been preserved in oil, and everybody kind of, wants to see it, but, they're not letting anyone in to take a look. And you get this guy, Jason there, who is going to go and break in and take a look at the body, even though he's not supposed to. But we find that, a lot of the rumors of these people, like they're skeleton people, is just untrue. They're regular guys, they're just in this cult, and they're actually running out of money, and they don't know what to do, especially because a lot of the rumors of this place have been overhyped, and it's not going to be the creepy thing people want, so they can't really do tours. But they're going to have this guy barge in on them in a little bit, and it's one of those things where, you know, most of the story, like the cultists just being normal people, and then your protagonists are just teens, you know, it's not horrific the whole time. But then you get to the ending, and this really pans out in a different way than I thought it would. And just the situation that this story leaves the book in at the very end, I'm like, okay, I didn't see that coming. And it's a pretty crazy way to leave it, so I really did like that. The Creeps fan club, this is the user stuff. Pumpgrin is the prose story that someone submitted, Christian Howard, and it's about twins. One of them's got cerebral palsy, and they go into a haunted corn maze on Halloween, and they're, of course, meant by some bullies, but then, of course, a supernatural element wraps up the situation, but I'll let you guys read that for yourself. And then you have the Creeps reader, Brianna Tippett, did this picture of someone with a head on a platter there, so a pretty cool user-submitted, reader-submitted picture. Gotta love that. And now we move on to the last story. I always feel like I say this, but can't believe we're at the end already. And this is Cutting Corners, and it's about a corner. One of my favorite pun titles of the series. But anyway, people are dying, and this story takes place during the Great Depression. Everybody's desperate for money, and you find that this corner here has a box full of costume jewelry, you know, so worthless stuff, and he's been replacing anything he finds on dead bodies, like these earrings, with costume jewelry, and he's getting all this jewelry in order to, you know, survive. And one of his old friends drops in on him unexpectedly and sees all this, and he doesn't want that to get out, so he kills him. But before he dies, he vows that somehow he'll get his revenge. This is another one of those, like, whenever you think of the Tales from the Crypt TV show, the classic betrayal and death and revenge stories, and it really does have a pretty cool ending the way this all wraps up there. But yeah, the whole case of someone trying to get away with some crime, and that leads to murder, and then the murder leads to supernatural horror stuff is always fun. And so just a good classic story to round out the issue. Overall, a really fun issue. Sad that they have to change the title on this. I'm hoping, I mean, probably Shudder will be just as good as the Creeps. I mean, it'll probably be pretty much the same thing with a different title and a different host. I hope the magazine financially is okay. You know, I'd imagine you get a boost of sales for an issue 1, but I'm hoping it doesn't lose their existing audience, so I really do want to stress the Creeps is becoming Shudder, so look for that next time you're picking up the magazine. But overall, this has been a fun book as always. Some classic stories, some cool moments, and overall everything in here was pretty cool. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. Should be my Creeps and Vampirus Carmilla playlist if you want to see my reviews for the other magazines in the series. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.